Okay, so hello guys, and hello friends. Okay. Yeah, hello everybody. My name is William. Today I'm gonna show you well, I guess I can show you this, right? Because I called Reform California. You know, I might probably have to show you that. I probably already showed you this website, but even if you don't live in California, okay, I'll show you who owns this website, okay? And if there's bad laws coming out of California, you might, the best thing you can do is we can replace it with different bills, and that's why. But you have to learn something here. You can't just let me, that Carl DeMaio know from Reform California, because he's a Republican representative in California. That's why. He owns this website called reformcalifornia.org. So right now we got voter ID qualifies on the November ballot. Saving Prop 13. We disagree, no, yeah. Tax hikes on local ballots. Stretching on polling, and then reform success. God for 480 and 14 petitions achieve on 90 rates. So those are the top newses right now. Oh. Yeah, and there's also a campaign to stop mileage tax. Get politicians to stop lying, get the Democratic politicians to stop lying, and I try to win seats with voter ID. Yeah, I know, and also try to, and I know there's some Republicans who want to do is try to, overturn Prop 50. So 10 new laws. Well, yeah, 10 of the worst new laws signed by Gavin Newsom. I want to show you those ones right now. So that's strangers going to see children without parental consent. Okay, and then you got SB 627 makes it a crime for officers where to protect their identity, encouraging doxing, intimidation. Okay, yeah, that's not good. Create a push fund for NESM fund money and money-friendly media outlets for praise and policies. Variety set up massive new strange industry taxpayer of the skin color. Now extends recovery trade cap and trade on Pogon to 2046, adding up to 43 cents per gallon at the pump. Okay, and AB 1127 bans most handguns to be covered with automatic fire if perfectly legal today. AB 79. That's developers bulldoze single-link family neighborhoods to build 6-story apartment towers and stripping local control. Okay, and there's AB 361. Forces projects use only project labor agreements and non-union workers to drive up costs. AB 42 lets politicians to dip taxpayer money in their own campaign operations, and AB 2288 gives up bureaucrats control over private labor disputes and even more power to union bosses. Well, okay, I got all that covered, but Well, that's great, but you guys, but Carl DeMaio has to learn something else. You know, that's why. That's the only. Those bills, those new laws. Well, those laws are bad. But which law is a lot worse than these 10 new laws? You know, like I said on YouTube. Alright, let's go to my YouTube channel and I'll show you what I meant to say here. This one. So, why do I believe that AB 1043, this law, is a lot worse than these 10 worst new laws that are signed by Gavin Newsom? Well, why? Well, because I'll read it to you right here. If you don't know, this is from Electric Frontier Foundation. This is right here. If you want to know, I'll read it to you. If you can't read it to yourself right here, but here it says it's a long war against HG on the internet. Such mandates strike a foundation of free and open internet. They create necessary and conditional barriers for adults and young people to access information and express themselves online. They hurt small, open, and source developers and non-available education options, perfect space, and protecting private information, access to everyone. And handling sensitive data. Last year, we raised concerns about AB 1003 and one of several bills in the California legislature, but they took a wrong approach and that young people online. And the sensitive marathon policy, now they basically is set to go to effect in 2027. We concerned a lot of questions of the possible effects. Yeah, that's why. Now, as for Steve Hilton and Chad Bianco try to, now I don't know what Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco are gonna learn about this. I try to tell them on, X or Twitter to learn about this law. That's why. You can use to see what they can do with it. I already tried to do my best to get it removed or replaced, and no working. And now right now the bills are full right now, so starting in November, I'll try to do my best to replace this law the best I can. But right now, I'm voting Republican to replace California. Now on YouTube, if you want to know, I did make a poll about Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton to see which one you want to go vote for. Even if you don't live in California, you can click on one of these polls here. That's why. That's why. Whatever makes you happy. If you want to vote for Steve Hilton or Chad Bianco on this poll, you're welcome to. I believe if one of these two win for California, I believe they will change California, but we'll see. I don't know yet. But if they do win, if one of these do win, I'll try to replace this law here. But let's keep reading though. So that's the AB 1003 since to trap even proposals extends the age of AB 1003 to still create incentive funds. AB requires all operating system and app stores to create age-breaking systems that will segment users based their ages. Provide operating system apps to their birthday age or so, and they're based on sort of age bracket. AB 1003 also requires application software developers to collect their age information when a user uses that software information. 8043 treats an HRED signal set by user giving application or service extra knowledge or user's knowledge that major would provide to be under law, such as California HRED design code. The result is a recipe for censorship. Okay, and in applications, developers, operating systems. 8023 is that it's a potential enforcement by California Attorney General requiring exclude users who say they are minors and who do not fit in the respective age bracket. They believe it's accessible to use the application or software, but minors have the First Amendment right to access the majority of the apps and services. What California has done is essentially outsource censorship to developers who are likely lean over censorship. Yeah, and AB 2003 is one size fits all approach, or primarily because it regards in many ways and we make additional tools. As soon as the internet of digital service began, the technology companies the device makers. We have known in these cases. Additionally, my families share devices and low-income households, and these proposals do not count in situations there are more than one user of the device. Okay, yeah. Additionally, broad proposals that demand information and such censorship are tools under the guise of protecting young people's developers to reach perfect solutions found to be pushed out of markets. Many of these mandates mentioned in technology does not currently exist, such as poorly mandates in truth and cannot achieve purported goal of agification often, and circuits of many approach consumers with data breach risk. Squeezing small developers hurts everyone. Now AB 2003's burden fall is particularly heavy on developers who are large, while resource companies such as developing open source software, not recognizing the disparity of software developing the capability in these proposals. Okay, and it's just effectively limits software choices, and especially harmful at a time computational power is being rapidly concentrated in the hands of the few. This harms users, developers, to free expression, their additional liberties, privacy, ability to create open platforms, and progressively entrenches the dominance of all major operating system developers and device makers. AB 2043 is also similar to proposals and considerable implementation issues because it's not even for net. AB 2043 also examples carves out broad-border internet across service, communication service, and use of physical product, whereas multiple devices and computers are covered. However, so many devices could fall into the categories people consider smart. Watches can be computers, for example. Oh yeah, like my smartwatch. Virtually digital device that runs software built on 3 decades that could fall in the category. This means the consumers could have some age information on more companies than ever, and get increasing possibility of data misuse and data breach. Oh yeah, like what happened on Discord and T-App. There is a better way. The administrators do not need to sacrifice their consonants. The First Amendment rights and privacy on the make a safe internet, and they can access harm these proposals, and then make a many lawmakers recognize these approaches and such as data minimization in their proposals, rather than creating age gates for American privacy law empowers all of us. Young people, like adults, like how to control our data is collected, and we like a crystal step in our right direction. Yeah, I agree with Electronic Frontier Foundation. We need to starting this November, we need to overturn and replace this law with something else, and hopefully we will. Net choice is something we can trust on this. Now, it is true that this law can get blocked in court. Don't get me wrong. But I'm not gonna wait for it to be blocked. But look, even if this law does get blocked in court, I am still gonna find a way to replace this law because there's still gonna be finding other ways to add age verification. That's why. That's why we need to replace it. That's why. Even if this does get blocked by the Supreme Court, we still have to replace it. That's why. Okay, they're going to find other ways to do age verification. If this law gets blocked, that's why. I'm not gonna. That's why. We still need to replace it, no matter. That's why. So they can stop thinking about age verification. That's why. We need to learn about that. That's the only thing we can do anyway. We need to get rid of it completely, not all that. And I don't know why this is. I also don't know why this law is not on a list on the Reform California list. But that's what I try to tell you about. And this law is way worse than these laws that a Reform California is talking about anyway. So, yeah. You might have to replace these laws too. Anyway. Was this made on October 16, 2025? Okay, yeah, that's fine. But that's... Anyway, that's showing you the campaigns. So, here's the campaigns for Reform California. So you can do is stop the tax hikes. You can join the fight on the contract. Volunteer. Turnout for 2026. The California ID. The California Voter ID Initiative. That's great. That would be... I want voter ID. I believe voter ID is great and all. Yeah, that's why. Flipped. Yeah, I know it's the Democrats that don't want voter ID, and that's why. The flipped target seats. Yeah, that's the Dodge California. That's fine. Stop the saving tax. School board reform. Restore public safety and homelessness. Stop the mileage tax. Pension reform initiative. Gas tax repeal. Freedom of work, and cut politicians' perks. Union Tuesday rebate. California Insurance Reform Institution Initiative. File title reform, and you got stop that natural gas ban. Block the rate hikes. Keep housing decisions local on board security initiative. And this one is expose Gavin Newsom before it's too late. Yep. Those are the great campaigns I would know of. So Reform California, I would say check this one out, but those are the podcasts right here. So here's Carl DeMaio. I support him. He's a Republican representative. He lives in San Diego. that's the store right now, but there's no projects available at this time. Oh. So, okay, so here's what Reform California has to say about this. About the years. It says, our mission, Reform California, is a statewide grassroots led by Carl DeMaio, dedicated to taking back a state where far-left politicians of special interest. Given that California is currently dominated by one political party and with a supermajority, and the other political party is showing itself largely ineffective of this opposition rule. Reform California seeks to be counterbalanced to extreme misguided policies and cost taxpayers hurt working families in our state. Any Charman, Carl DeMaio's leadership Reform California state's growing grassroots movement in our state. Since Carl DeMaio's attended state office, December 23rd, Reform California funded as a funded project of DeMaio's Camden Campaign Committee. Carl DeMaio's state assembly. It is now Reform California Voter Guide. Okay, now before I can read about this, let's talk about Prop 50 here. So I don't know why people want to do is not only we're thinking about overturning, those laws, including AB 1043, but there's people thinking about overturning Prop 50. Because that passed too. I'll show you Prop 50. So what is this? Well, I'll tell you what Prop 50 is. So what is Prop 50? Well, I'll get to that soon, okay? Let's see what this says. So the Reform California Voter Guide is in each election. Reform California helps voters to cut through confusion and misinformation election. It's Reform California Plain English Voter Guide. It's issued for our state. Reform California endorses and participates reform-minded candidates and office, provides easy to understand, truthful description, and deceptive ballot measure on divisions on the ballot. DeMaio also controls Reform California Voter Guide and Slate Mail is used as publicized. Reform California's Voter Guide in each election. Now the ballot measure campaigns. Reform California maintains a separate ballot measure campaign committee to file, quality, and support new citizen ballot initiatives and oppose reform on state and local government. Reform California's ballot measure committee is also able to organize campaigns and audition on bad initiatives proposed on special interests, such as tax increases. Providing liberal news. The Library of Marion, California refuses the truth to deliver the news. Growing problems in California under one-party control. That's why Carl DeMaio holds a daily Reform California podcast. Provide factual and unbiased news stories to the public yearning for the truth and what is happening in our state and what is positive change happen. The Reform California caucus. As a member of the California State Legislative, Reform California Chairman Carl DeMaio is building a Reform California caucus like a like-minded principled reformers to fight for a change from within belly of the beast. our supporters, ordinary citizens for our walks in life, and funders to Reform California. In fact, Reform California has grown into one of the largest grassroots advocacy moments in the country. Reform California represents the grassroots meaning of the army of 50,000 donors, and they give an average of $67 per year of the contribution levels. Volunteers. Reform California could over 30,000 volunteers spread throughout each region of our state of the state. These volunteers help collect the researchers of the ballot measure. Volunteers as candidates of the Reform California endorses. Now, subscribers. Reform California has over 500,000 subscribers. That means these are podcast news, alert of the state issues and policies. The advice is based on against Reform California, the dependence of political system funding for the state. Now, Reform California is founded in Political Action Committee in 2003 by Government Reform Leader Carl DeMaio, and it's a focus on uncovering conventional crisis based on the state of Reform California under Governor Gray Davis. Since the Reform California uncovered numerous financial mismanagement and corruption in state and local governments. So, yeah, Reform California as a state of work has worked first in city of San Diego and satisfy on financial statements and hiding a multi-billion pension debt crisis. After exposing a financial crisis, Reform California a bold fiscal reform plan that saved in San Diego from bankruptcy. Since it launched in 2003, Reform California has led 2,000 initiative campaigns, both in specific regions and statewide. In 2017, Reform California launched a successful call against State Senator Josh Newman and the cast of the sign vote, improving the city of unfair of the gas tax hikes. The success for the only fifth time since 1912, the state politician successfully removed from the office through a recall. In 2018, Reform California over 1 million signatures of the city of Proposition 6 and gas tax repeal initiative in 2022. To get 1.4 million signatures are qualified California Taxpayer Protection Act. Now, the state Reform California has defeated over 300 tax hike proposals on the ballot, saving Californians over $32 billion. Reform California's plain English folder guide is most concerns a folder guide in the state. It was downloaded by the 264,000 unique folders during the 2022 election. In 2024, Reform California Chairman Carl DeMaio announced the campaign in the state assembly. All are part of the bill to reform California Congress of the bill of the belly of the beast. Because the state campaign national rules, Reform California now projects of the committee of the state assembly candidates of a reform operation. Okay, California operations. Now, the separate balloting committee called Reform California Carl DeMaio raises spend funds on the ballot measure campaigns. And now, why did Carmelo said no on Prop 50 in 2025? Well, and why did my family wanted to vote no on Prop 50? Why did not? Well, even though Prop 50 did pass, we still need to consider you to know that's why. So Prop 50 ends fair elections in California. Carl DeMaio and Reform California are leading to fight to defeat Prop 50 and help us need to fight. Gavin Newsom and California politicians are having a costly special election November 4th to redraw the state constitutional maps cost of taxpayers. $200 million is even California is facing a $20 million budget of the priorities of public safety emergency response. Prop 50 put the politicians and state legislator and change of those maps. Defeating Prop 50 would keep the current system approved by the citizens. Initiative requires an independent restricting commission of the draw election restricts of the district of the non-partisan matter. Prop 50 takes restricting power away from the citizens and the power back to the politicians, so they can manipulate the lines of the extra districts and their own personal political benefit. As proof of the corrupt Newsom and California politicians on the issue, Prop 50 is a false title. Deceptively broadcast the voters that a yes vote would input decisions restricting comment, when in fact a yes would eliminate decisions but the hands back of the politicians. While Newsom and California Democrats say Prop 50 is a response that to Trump and Texas restricting California, it should retaliate to sacrifice the integrity of the ending fair elections. The truth is, California politicians always opposed the Citizens Commission that we opposed them in 2010. They are using the hatred of Trump and it's a window of the dressing tool folders and the grabbing back of the people. Joining the fight to defeat fair elections in California. So, remember, let's vote no on Prop 50. The top reasons to vote no on Prop 50 is it allows the seize of power of the citizens. So, number one, yeah, that's one. It's a power packet of the politicians to break a system of calling its guarantee of a re-election. It's not democracy, it's enchantment. It's entrenchment. Two, it permits corrupt backroom deals. Instead of the bipartisan group of the citizens drawn every day, Californians drawing in strict lines of the year, public hearings and appointment. Sacramento politicians rush to prop these maps and state legislators in 1 week, and districts of the benefit of their own careers. Waste $200 million in the cost of special election. Spends on $200 million of the special election, while California is facing $20 million budget in defense of the priorities of the public safety and emergency services. Eliminates fair and competitive of districts. Allows gerrymandering, which disproportionately harms communities of color and competitive elections, and erodes accountability, and states conditional protections according to ensure communities are kept to hold maps not drawn of potential parties and increments, not temporary, but it will be permanent, just like temporary taxes and fees. The regulations are once politicians have power, never get it back to the people. Let Sacramento politicians temporarily kill off the place of democracy, such a dangerous criticism that used to be filtered by the future politicians undermine the conditional safeguards. And so, to what about Texas? Generating the districts by politicians is never okay, whether here in Texas or anywhere else. We believe that Texas and all states should adopt California's independent citizens restricting model. While we do not like Texas is doing, California should not retaliate and sacrifice its integrity. California must rise above the partisan games and protect fair and competitive elections without resorting to gerrymandering. Yeah, so all Prop 50 it's about control. Yeah, that's what it was, about control. Just like this law was all about control. We need to, yes. So California Republicans is sued to overturn the backdrop of Prop 50 restricting vote. California Republicans have hopes of the ballot on Tuesday aimed at Republican get ready to scream. They should have interest in Prop 50 party gets sued California's Commission of Bring Maps. I can give Democrats additional seats at the House of Representatives at the 2026 midterm races. Governor Gavin Newsom promoted the idea, proposal of the New Mexico Republicans in states across the country, giving a scheme of the GOP, President Donald Trump's political of the many losses of the state elections running of the House Republicans. Okay, over 6 million votes that conduct events account for voters back the measure Tuesday's ninth election. 30.6 are voting against it on Wednesday. According to Republican student on federal court of the new maps, a video of 14th and 15 minutes, of course, demanding next voters of the advantage. The California Republican Party, a symbol of the 18 state residents of plaintiffs of the lawsuit. Newswoman, California Secretary State of the Shirley Weaver of the name of the defendants. Okay, Hispanics make up the voters in the state. Has had dentist of their choice, said Mike Colombo, a lawyer of our plaintiffs, who works funded by Republican activist Harvey Dillon, responding into the lawsuit in Newsom's office, and they were copied the new maps to hold the traditional scrutiny. Okay, this review of the lawsuit of this reform of the California Republican Party. Harper says a law firm. The agreed of the spokesman Newsom said the Republicans and indeed of the previously helping to hold back Proposition 50 and allowed a statewide ballot. Okay, Nicholas Stanfordmius, Professor Harvey of the told New York Times that Scripto California Republicans will be six for blocking new maps. There's a properly adopted map of the. There's some secretary over the law taking the map to see the effect of the plaintiffs, so it will be deferred and delayed of the solution of the legal standard. But there's a video of the even before 2026 midterms of the Supreme Court, where it's involving Section 2 of the Voter Rights Act, which allows withdrawing the maps against the rates of the marginalized communities, gaining power of residents of Congress. Of the hearing of the last month, the court was pretty likely overturn that rule. Okay, it's the Supreme Court by Section 2 Voter Rights Act, well, not only maps, but also protect and by these other states too. Right, Section 2 is unconstitutional, but being as well as BS 11 undemocratic and reports of the states of Professor at his school law, international law 2000 in August. Well, these Republicans are right. We have to overturn Prop 50. Don't get me wrong about that. But what Prop 50 was about control. Right? Yeah, just like this law here is all about control too. You know, but if you want to, there are some bills coming up. Well, I show you right now. But I want you to check out Reform California and think about this. You know, that's why we have to do something here. If there's any other bills you want me to cover for California or the U.S., you can let me know in the comments below. I'll take a look at them and see. Okay? Because I don't know much about that. That's why. Already got representatives to vote no on some of them, and then a couple of yes. I think on yes, it was on Protect Your Games Act. You know, that's why. So that's fine. But there is some like oh no, I think there's one. I think there's one on 3D printing or something. You can let me know in the comments below on what other bills are coming to California, and I will make a video about it. But also for the U.S. as well. But yeah, check out Reform California, and please, you can let Carl DeMaio know about this too. You know that's why he's a Republican representative from Reform California. I do support him of what he's doing because he's a Republican too, just like I am. You know. Yeah, and yes, you know. And look, I don't care if you want to vote for either Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton. Either one is fine. I just want to get a Republican governor to take over. California, you know that's why. You know, because I hate Gavin Newsom. That's why I hate him. Now, and we need to. And now he wants to run for president in 2028. I'm not voting for him. In 2028, forget that. I'll just vote for the other Republican. You know, I don't know what the other Republican is going to do, but he's going to be against Gavin Newsom, and that's why. I know the other Republican I was talking. I don't know who the other Republican is, but we'll see. I just don't know yet, because you know I'm born Republican, and that's why. And not all Republicans are for age vacation. Is that a lot of them are, and because the ones in their state are, and they're just probably being a rhino or something. Well, just like those Democrats being a dino. Let's make that. That's why. But all the Democrats in California, all they want is control, and that's why. But I don't know. I know not all Democrats are like that, but I know that some of them are. Just like the same with Republicans. You know, that's why. So I would say support Reform California, and yes, you can let Carl DeMaio know about reject some bills that are coming in California, even if you don't live in California, because that's why. You can always email him, and which is okay, and that's fine, and that's what you have to do anyway. But you can always let me know too. Hmm. I did not put my representatives in here, so let me do that. I'm trying to get into this website here so I can put this on my bookmark. Here, I'll bookmark this website too. I want to choose another folder. I want to put Reform California here. Yeah, just so you know, yeah, Michelle Rodriguez is one of my local representative because I live in the city of Ontario. That's why. And yes, I do call her once in a while, but you know, I started calling her ever since well, AB 2043 got signed into law. That's why. Because I haven't found a way to replace it right now, but hopefully in November of this year we can find out a way to do it. I know I wasn't going to be able to do it, that's why. But yeah, here's our website here. I'm not sure how great she is. You can let me know. I know she's a on Wikipedia. Oh yeah, she's a Democrat, so that's what it says right here on the website. But here's her website here, so you know, yeah, I know. Why is my representative a Democrat? Don't ask me why. I live in the city of Ontario, that's why. You know, I do support Carl DeMaio, and he's a Republican representative, that's why. Oh yeah, Susan Rubio is one of my senators for Reform. Oh yeah, because I live in the city of Ontario, that's why. I will bookmark. My federal representative is Norma Torres. So, yeah. So let me look at Wikipedia. So yeah, Susan Rubio is she's a Democrat, but yeah, she's one of my senators. Because I live in Ontario, because in the city of Ontario, that's why. Why is the Empire representatives Democrats? I don't know. You tell me, but you know what? I don't like the Democratic Party in general, but that's fine. But there is a president I do support. You know, Carl DeMaio of Reform, California. So, because he's a Republican, and that's why. But my federal representative is Norma Torres. So, and yes, I do call him about the federal age vacation bills. That's why. Yes. Okay, maybe use Brave Search here. I don't want to use Google. I actually click on it because I have a base. So, have you heard about HR? Oh, sorry, Parents Decide Act. I don't want to go too far about it. Yeah, it's HR 250. But yeah, Parents Decide Act is age vacation on the OS level, and this bill is federal. Okay, but it's very vague. It doesn't even tell you what kind it is, because that's why. Yeah, it doesn't even say you have to upload your ID or do a selfie either to do age vacation. All it says to verify the user's date of birth. So yeah, I guess all you have to do is to input your birth date to verify your age on the operating system and HR 250 and HR 8250. Still not good, very bad. Because they're trying to make it, I know they're trying to make it safer, so you don't have to worry about uploading your ID. But it's still not good, because they're still asking for your age. They're just only asking for your date of birth. Because people are disliking the idea of uploading your ID and doing selfie and stuff. So that's what they're just doing, the date of birth. And not great. So yeah, but yeah, get representatives to vote no on this bill. And there's also the App Store Accountability Act. I'll have to get to So the App Store Accountability Act is HR 3149, and yes, there's no summary in there, but acquires the App Store. So what this bill does is it's on introduced in May 1st, 2025, but it still has been introduced. It hasn't passed the House yet. The last action for it was December 11th of 2025. That's why. But it hasn't passed the House yet, so you still have time to vote no on this bill. To get me to vote no on this bill, that's why. But yeah, HR 3049 is the App Store Accountability Act. It's the U.S. Federal App Store Accountability Act. I would say It's a bill where you have to upload your ID to every app you download and install. I would say call your local representative and get them to vote no on this bill. That's all I can say about that anyway. Because I saw on Twitter, uploading your ID in order to use the weather app and the calculator app. So stupid. And how's that, yeah, and I know in order to protect kids. Very stupid excuse. They're not fooling me. I know they're not. So, and what is the Kids Act, though? Because there's all HR. So, HR 5757 is the Kids Act. The Kids Act is very vague. It's about age vacation, but you can see look how vague it is. Get your percent to vote no on this bill. Because it's just very vague. Yeah, it's introduced on March 3rd, 2026. So, yeah, get your representative to vote no on this. Please. So, why is no one choice my representative? Well, you can also read about her on Wikipedia, so that's why. Oh yeah, she's a Democrat, but the only reason why I call her because she's my federal representative, and that's why. Even I don't support her at all, that's why. But there is a representative I do support. So, Carl DeMaio is a Republican representative, and I do support him of what he's doing on voting and stuff. We're from California, so that's why. And there's his website right here, and there's his website right here. So So yeah, please check out Reform California if you haven't. I'll put in the description box below if you want to know. And I do believe, and how I gotta replace AB 2043, well, it will be starting in November, but I was thinking about parent, yeah, free programs for parent controls. That's why. And yes, I do want digital education in the classroom at schools. That's true anyway. Lock up for cyber criminals and pedophiles. That yes. Law enforcement. Yes. We need to punish bad actors. That's true, and we need a federal data privacy framework. We have to know how to do it at state level. But we can do it at federal first. I can start with California, and that's fine. But we need to vote for a Republican governor first. That's a digital shield for America anyway, that choice. So, even though that is true, I don't. Oh yeah, I don't like it supporting these sites like Discord or Meta or YouTube or Google, or Reddit. You know, that's why. But, you know. Oh yeah, and if you want to, and yes, please go to badinternetbest.com if you want to call your representatives for against age vacation. If you want to, anyway. And I don't care which Republican you vote, as long as you don't split the vote. Okay? Because that won't be good at all. That's why. And just vote for just vote for one or the other. Don't vote for both, please. Anyway, I did make a YouTube post so that you can either vote for either. You can click on Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton, which one you want to vote. You can click on the poll and thinking we want to vote for. You know, that's why. I know it does say 0%, but you can also click on it, and that's why. Let me know if you don't leave a comment, you can also let me know if you do. You can let me know if you're going to vote for Chad Bianco or Steve Hilton. Even if the June primary is over, you can still let me know after. You know, that's why. I'm not asking to like them, you know, that's why. And I know that Steve Hilton got endorsed by Donald Trump, and that's, you know, that's fine. You know, but we have to do what we can here, so that's why. Oh. Oh yeah, so please make sure you watch How to Go to Heaven video on Rumble or BitChute if you want to anyway, because the only go to heaven is to believe on the Lord Jesus Christ. Believe on Him and you'll be saved forever. Yeah, the Bible says believe and you'll be saved forever, and you won't go to hell if you trust Jesus to take you to heaven. You know, the Bible says, believe on Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt be saved in thy house. That's what the Bible teaches. That's what the King James Bible teaches. You know, that's why. You have the How to Go to Heaven on Rumble. And I also have it on BitChute. If you want to get saved, just watch my How to Go to Heaven video on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube. That's why. And you have to go right now. So, if there's anything else if you want to talk to me about, let me know in the comments below, and I will. You can let me know what else you want me to talk about anyway. I have to go right now anyway, but. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you there. Goodbye. Adios and Zaijian.